Good morning, everybody. Matt Modi here with OddsJam. I'm sure everybody here knows the drill by now, but we will be locking in some NBA player props for today using OddsJam, using the positive expected value page to find these sharp, mathematically profitable player props. Now, of course, with sports betting, variance is a very real thing. You're not going to win 100% of your bets. You're not going to profit every single day, week, even month. If I go to my bet tracker, which shows all of my history using OddsJam, you'll see that my profit over time, as soon as this loads, is very good. I'm up at this point over 21K in the last year and a half since I've been using OddsJam, about 21.5 exactly. But it's not always smooth sailing. Recently, things have been going pretty well, but as you can see, there are some pretty dramatic down weeks, including a time over the summer where I was down 5 out of 6 weeks. That certainly wasn't fun. If you look at just the monthly profits as well, profit over time, you will see as soon as this loads that I've had 3 total down months using OddsJam. As you can see, 3 total down months. But that was 3 down months in a 4-month span. And the next month, I was barely up. I was up $150. So variance is a very real thing. Obviously, significantly more ups than downs, right? Obviously, I've been using it since September of 2021, and I've only had 3 down months. That's really good. But you're not going to be up every single day, week, month is the point here. So just need to understand that variance is a very important part of sports betting, just to mentally grasp yourself with it. And as long as you have an edge and the bets you're placing have an edge, it's something that will work out in the long run. And what I mean by have an edge, let's get right into it. So it all is kind of from these no vig odds that you see here. So when it comes to sports betting, if you look at just the odds for this play, and I guess I should say we're locking in Jrue Holiday over 2.5 made 3-pointers at plus 155 odds at BetRivers. So if you look at the odds here, BetRivers is at plus 155, and then we see odds like Caesars all the way down at plus 118. That's a pretty massive gap between two sports books for the same exact play, right? Like it's no different. You're not getting any better odds, or not getting any better likelihood. It's not like you're buying and selling points. It's the same exact play, and there's a huge gap. Like what? That's $37 for every $100 bet between these two numbers. So with that in mind, one of these sportsbooks has to be right and one of them has to be wrong, or the truth is somewhere in the middle and they're both wrong. Regardless, they both can't be correct. They both can't be the accurate reflection, the accurate representation of what this market, this Jrue Holiday over 2.5 3-pointers should be priced at. They're too far apart. It doesn't make any sense. So with that thought in mind, that one's right and one's wrong, or that they're both wrong, there are some sportsbooks that are historically and consistently over the course of time better than others, better than the rest at pricing odds. Some sportsbooks are simply just better than others. Not every sportsbook is created equal. So that's exactly what is pulled into these no vig odds here. So OddsJam back tested thousands and thousands of betting opportunities to determine what sportsbooks are the sharpest over the course of time, and then removes the vig from those books using a weighted average and spits out these no vig odds that you see here. So these odds can be viewed as the true line of what a market should truly be priced at. So in this case, we are getting the no vig line at plus 146, and BetRivers is offering this Jrue Holiday prop all the way up at plus 155. So that's like 9-cent difference between these two numbers. And obviously, the bigger the gap between these two numbers, the bigger the edge that you have. Now that is not me saying that you should only bet on higher percentage plays, because that all these numbers feed into this percent here, and that lower EV percent plays are bad. You still want to kind of look into each play individually and see if it's good or not. But just like blanketly, the bigger the gap between these two numbers, the bigger the percent is. So play number 1, we're looking at Jrue Holiday over 2.5 made 3-pointers, plus 155 odds at BetRivers. Next up, the next play we're going to go ahead and lock in here is Steph Curry under 4.5 made 3-pointers, plus 102 odds at BetRivers. So again, I know this is the play because it's bolded with the blue rectangle around it. That's the highlight, the sign saying bet me. The no vig odds for this one are at about minus 104, essentially just below minus 104. And the next thing you want to do, so whenever I am locking in bets, like for me personally, locking in bets, I do this every single time. You want to look at the odds of the bet you're placing and compare them to the rest of the markets. So in this case, the bet we're placing is Bet Rivers at plus 102. So let's compare these plus 102 odds to every other sports book. And as you can see, so we can ignore Monkey Knife Fight and Prize Picks because they're DFS companies. Look at every other sports book and where they price it. Let's start with the sharpest sports book in the world, which is Pinnacle. Pinnacle prices this at minus 121. They price the over at minus 110. They're heavily favoring this going under, right? If you just look at both sides, minus 110 versus minus 121, the more expensive side is the side that Pinnacle thinks is more likely. So they're making it more expensive to buy, right? They're charging more juice for it because it's the more likely outcome. So again, they're charging more for it at minus 121. Next up, you want to look at Bet Online. It's the same exact thing. They have the under at minus 120, the over at minus 108. They are favoring this going under, as does DraftKings, as does Caesars, as does FanDuel, as does Fox Bet. The only book that doesn't, taking out Bet Rivers, is Bet365, but they still have it at a 50-50 outcome, right? Equal amounts of juice on each side. Bet Rivers is offering this to us at plus 102 odds, which means that you don't have to win 50% of your bets to be profitable. If you win half your bets, you will make money. That's what the plus money dictates. So this is a really, really good value that is confirmed by looking at every other sports book. If you want to just look at it, not even from a sports perspective, but just from a logical perspective, literally every other sports book that prices it is charging more money for it. They think it's more likely, so they're charging more money for it, except for Bet Rivers, who has, compared to every other book, the least expensive price for this. The most logical scenario here is that Bet Rivers just has this mispriced, and that mispriced is in our favor because it's higher payout. So this is a really, really good bet. I'm not saying that it's a lock. I'm not saying that I'm guaranteeing this Steph Curry bet is going to hit. I'm just saying the value on this is incredible. And if you placed this Steph Curry bet 1,000 times and we lived in a simulation, it would be profitable in the long run. So this is play number 2, Steph Curry under 4.5 made 3-pointers. Next up, same game. Looks like the value is fading the sharpshooters for the Warriors. And we are taking Klay Thompson to go under 3.5 made 3-pointers. So this is the third play of this video. I think I have 5 or 6 when I was going through it. The no vig odds on this one price this at about plus 111. So the gap between these two numbers, that is where your profitability comes from, of course. And then I do this for every single bet that I place. You want to look at the odds of the bet you're placing, compare it to the rest of the sports books. So Pinnacle has the under at minus 103, about 18 cents better than the Bet Rivers line. Bet Online, not far behind at minus 102. DraftKings is another one I like to look at, not as much as Bet Online and Pinnacle, of course, but DraftKings is still pretty good. They have it at minus 105. Looks like the closest book here is Bet365, which is still a full 10 cents lower at plus 105. Majority of books have it basically between plus 100 and minus 105, minus 106. So still a really good outlier here on the Bet Rivers line. And I will say, I'll pause here for a second. I get a lot of questions about like, why would you place something that's plus money if basically it's unlikely to hit, right? The logic and the math behind a bet that is plus money means that it has less than a 50% chance of hitting. It's a good question. I understand it conceptually, but you just have to understand, upsets happen, plus money events happen in sports all the time. The Giants were underdogs. They beat the Vikings. The Jaguars were underdogs. They came back from 27-0 to beat the Chargers. I can assure you the Jags were a huge plus money play when they were down 27-0. LeBron scored 48 points or whatever it was yesterday. I can assure you him scoring 40 plus was plus money. So plus money events happen all the time. That's the first thing to understand. The next one is the goal here isn't to win the highest percentage of your bets, right? If you wanted to do that, if you just wanted to win the most of your bets, the highest percent, then just bet every favorite. You're not going to be profitable, I can assure you of that, but you will win the most of your bets. The goal here is to make money, and we're not trying to win over 50% of our bets. We're just trying to win enough to be profitable. So plus 115 odds If you win half your bets at plus 115, you will be profitable. If you win 48% of your bets at plus 115 odds, you will be profitable. So that is kind of the goal of what we're doing here. We're not trying to win the most percent of our bets at the highest percent. I know I'm saying that wrong. We're just trying to make the most money, and you can do that. Obviously, the payout is higher with plus money bets. So that's something important to understand. Play number 3, I know this one's going long, so I'll go through these next one quickly. Klay Thompson under 3.5 made 3-pointers. Next up, we got Markelle Fultz over 5.5 assists. This is at plus 117 odds at BetRivers. This is play number 4. OddsJam perfect line. True line of this is at plus 114.5. Looking at every other sports book, BetOnline plus 100, DraftKings plus 100. The closest book is 13 cents lower, which is FanDuel at plus 104. So this plus 117 at BetRivers is a really good price. Play number 4, Markelle Fultz over 5.5 assists. Next up, Franz Wagner over. Franz Wagner over 1.5 made 3-pointers. This is my 5th play of the night. This is at minus 120 odds at BetRivers. OddsJam perfect line has this at about minus 122.5. Looking at every other book, one book is closer, FanDuel at minus 128. Look at the rest of the markets, minus 157, minus 150. BetOnline, obviously important, minus 147. And we're getting it all the way down at minus 120. So this is another really good bet. This is my 5th bet for tonight. And I think Franz Wagner over 1.5 made 3-pointers. And I think this is the last one. It is Giannis Antetokounmpo. I'm sure everybody remembers him over, or knows who he is, not remembers. Over 12.5 rebounds, plus 104 odds at BetRivers. Plus money dictates, again, we don't have to win 50% of our bets to be profitable. But if you look at where the other sports books price it, pretty much every book has it as the favorite outcome except for FanDuel. So FanDuel is the only one that's in alignment with BetRivers. But Caesars, DraftKings, and then obviously BetOnline is important. Fox Bet all favor him going over this number. So this is another really good bet. This is my 6th and final bet for this video. Lots of bets for you guys to lock in. Hopefully this video was helpful and made sense. If you have any questions or if you just liked the video, personally, if you enjoyed it, give me a like on the actual YouTube video. It helps me out a ton since my job here at OddsJam is to help produce videos that people like. Other than that, would appreciate, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. It's good stuff. If you want to find me on social media, you can at my handle you see on the screen here, Jedi Modi, and have a good one.